Welcome to the Matthew Moran podcast. Here you will find a series of in-depth conversations with the world's best nature photographers, filmmakers, conservationists, editors, writers, and publishers. You will get an insight into the lives of industry experts and the unsung heroes, their stories, what goes on in their minds, how they approach their work, and how they make it pay. The podcast also looks at the role that photography and filmmaking plays in helping to raise awareness about the global plight of species, and despite the depressing statistics, we look for solutions at what we can all do to contribute to conservation. All my guests give up their time for free and are incredibly generous of spirit, and this is my chance to share these conversations with you. This week, my guest is Angel Fitor. I've wanted to have Angel on the podcast ever since we met back in Germany in 2022. I've been a big fan of his work for years and know the great lengths and literal deep dives he's taken to create a stunning portfolio of work that's won awards worldwide, widely published. We're going to get into all of that, but he's been doing this for more than 30 years. He also wears his heart on his sleeve and gives us a deep dive into his career, his approach, personality, and love of his work. So wherever you are, in your car, home, on your way to work, listen closely. Angel is a delight. Quick plug before we get to him about workshops upcoming in the autumn. We've just got a few limited places left. We only have 6 people on these workshops. This is me and Eddie Ephraim's photo bookmaking workshops in Highgate Cemetery. Head over to the workshops page of my site to find out more. Angel, it's great to see you on a Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon for you in Spain. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Matt. Thanks a lot for having me. This is important because it's a manifestation of love, and the love is mutual. So thank you very much.
So Spanish, straight into the romance.
Yeah, straight into it. Yeah, it's gonna be like that all the time.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah. Prepare your sick buckets. It's going to be a big love-in. Oh, that's so great. What a lovely way to start. Look, we talked a bit last week, about what we were going to cover, and what I knew this anyway. Angel and I are fortunate enough to be in a small group of photographers that we meet up once a month on Zoom organized by Clay Bolt, great photographer, great bee specialist. And hopefully this will be an extension of that. But, often, I think from when I first met you anyway, 4 years ago at GDT, there was a real connection there. But talking to you, what I really loved was that actually we have very similar kind of love for photography, also doing local subjects. But what I was really curious about was, when we talked about what got us into it was this love for travel, love for the exotic. But of course, we do the total opposite of that now, and we'll talk about that later. But I'd love to hear a bit about, or if you could just start off by telling us a bit about, the childhood fascination, if you had that, like when you got into photography, who your mentors were. Just going to throw those few questions at you and see where we go.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to tell because I've been doing this for as long as I can remember. I mean, my love for the natural world was probably was born when I was a really little kid. I was great. I spent the summers when I was a little kid. I spent the summers on a small, really small village up in the mountains of my hometown, Alicante, and that I think that was really influential because at that time, and we are talking about half a century ago, at that time we were completely free in the going around in the fields. We got to the river, and for some reason I have no idea. I had natural inclination, but by everything underwater. My curiosity was about everything that was right underneath the surface. And at that place, at that village, there was a river and there was a small reservoir. And I spent the whole day with tadpoles and small fish and frogs and toads and everything, snakes and everything around. And then I remember, and this is something that I myself can even believe, that I still remember that experience. I think it fixed the curse of my life when I was 3 years old. Can you imagine to remember an experience you had when we were 3 years old?
That's incredible, yeah, and pretty rare.
Yeah, so I remember so vividly that my grandfather took me to a local cove, very near home. Actually, I still developed most of my work in that very same cove. And he just he just took me there to have a walk, and he had his diving mask with him, and then he put the diving mask just floating on a rock pool. So for the first time, I could see the underwater reality through the glass on a tight pool, on a rock pool, perhaps 2 inches deep. And there was a tiny starfish, some algae, and I remember a small crab as well. And that was so much shocking to me that that's all I remember. I mean, from that very same point to now, I've been doing the same for most of my life. That is, watching sea life through a glass, either underwater or in my many aquariums. I've been surrounded by aquariums during most of my life, all of my life. And this is what I've been doing for the last 50 years.
That's amazing. And this is great because when we had our chat before, I had no idea of this. So this is genuinely, authentic reactions, authentic storytelling, and I'd expect nothing less. But that's brilliant. And one of my pictures was, your grandfather carrying this mask. I was thinking, of course, it's not going to fit around your face. Like, how is he going to show you the underwater world?
Not at all. Not at all. Actually, recently I have tried, because, photographers, one of the things that many photographers and most photographers have in mind is someday to publish a book. For me right now, I think it's really how to say, I think it's too soon. I mean, I want to publish a book when I have finished to take pictures. It's not. I made a mistake to publish a book.
Do you mean when you retire? You mean
yes, I think so, because
right.
I'm very actively producing right now, and I think a book is kind of responsibility. And I made a mistake to producing a book about Lake Tanganyika 22 or 23 years ago, and it was a complete disaster. It was a failure of book because I was too bold, too young. So I thought that I could do that, and I was completely wrong.
But what about learning from that experience?
Yeah,
that's the thing. There's something about being the perfectionist.
At that precise moment, I decided that my next book was going to be when I was old enough, wise enough to write something that is useful, really useful for other people. And I think I still have a lot of things to do. So
you're not old enough yet.
Yeah. So for that book, I produced recently. It's perhaps too pretentious, but I have to admit that I produced recently. I recreate that situation of the mask floating on the very same tidal pool with the very same diving mask who my grandfather gave me. And I recreate exactly the position of the starfish as I remember. So that picture is ready for someday, eventually, that I produce a book, and that picture is going to tell the story of how it all began.
That is such a beautiful story, Angel. I love it, and I think that's great. When you first were talking about this, I just had images of a movie in my head. The grandfather holding his 3-year-old grandson's hand and showing him the wonders of the underwater world. And wow, like what an impact, huh?
Yeah.
What an impact.
Yeah, it was.
And that's it. I mean, do you remember your first camera experience or underwater camera experience, and how that went from kind of fascination just as I mean, most kids do have that fascination, you know, if like with my daughter, for example, their school recently took them to forest school. So every Friday they went into the woods, and, you know, kids naturally are curious, and it's wonderful watching that, but then translating that into something more deeper, whether you're going into sciences or conservation, or in your case, photography. What was the next stage?
Yeah, I think it's very natural. It's very natural for every one of us humans to try to produce memories. So photography somehow was in my mind, somehow, even though I didn't know at that time. So we need to understand a bit of social context to understand what it meant. It means to get my first camera in a country that was for many years an exception within the context of Europe. And we had, I'm 53 right now, so I was born, and still the dictator was alive. So trying to purchase a camera on a developing country, a country that has just lived behind a dictatorship, the socio-economical situation in Spain during the 70s or early 80s was completely different from right now. So for a little kid to ask their parents, I want an SLR camera, was like asking for a satellite. I want my own satellite. Okay. So the effort and the mentality of a parent was completely out of what the hell you want a camera? What's that? So it took a lot of years to take my first one. I think it was like 12 or 13 years ago, 13 years old, sorry.
Yeah.
That I got my first Pentax K1000.
Yeah. I love hearing people's first cameras. A lot of them, I'm a little bit younger than you, but was like the Olympus OM10, but the Pentax comes up.
Yeah, probably that was a third or fourth hand camera. And I started to produce photography of critters that I collected on tide pools, on rock pools, in aquariums, just in aquarium with ambient light, with natural light, no flash, no nothing, only 36 exposures, and only being able to buy a roll of film every month, every 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Then I started to produce. Also in my home aquariums, I started to produce images. And I think at that time I fell in love with photography, because the way I experience the underwater world, the natural world in general, is so much intense in my mind and in my soul, that the need to express that, to forward that feeling to the rest of the people is so much powerful. It's like a flooding emotion. So that's why I was telling you that photography has been somehow there since the beginning, but it only took some time because of financial reasons.
During this time, I mean, obviously your grandfather was this lovely scenic moment with the mask floating in the cove, but were your parents influences, or were they too busy working, trying to make ends meet to buy you one roll of film a month? Like, did it really come from this moment and you as a child being curious?
Yeah, to be honest, I had no support from my parents. Actually, I had also a memory. Perhaps I was like 10 years old or something like that. That my mother, again, there was a saying in Spain that fish, tropical fish, aquarium fish, are carriers of bad luck.
Oh.
And then at that time, I remember my sister was diagnosed a really tiny vision issue, but my mother couldn't support to see her daughter with glasses.
Oh wow!
And then immediately she blamed at the fish, and she took all the fish and throw it into the toilet. Yeah, and that was absolutely shocking.
Oh my God! Yeah. This is a movie like your life. This is the tragedy.
That was a tragedy for a 10-year-old kid. That was a tragedy, Unfortunately, a few months before, after that, she realized how important were fishes to me, and then we restarted again my aquarium. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a heartbreaking. I want to go back and give your 10-year-old self a hug, Angel. You know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But you also, like, fast forwarding a little bit, you did go into sciences, didn't you, Lynn? With, you told me on the Zoom the other day that you had a background in anthropology and biology. Was this also connected to your love of what you were doing? Was why you wanted to study this stuff, to learn more?
My natural, of course, with my inclination to the natural world, my natural outlet was studying marine biology. And I did. I studied marine biology at home and in my local university. But also, I study at the same time. I study photography at school, and at a private school, and then it's my interest, my self-taught interest about the rest of things. I mean, philosophy. I'm an avid reader of philosophy. I love anthropology. I love evolution. I mean, I think understanding evolution is understanding human life and understanding the natural world. Evolution is understanding how evolution works. It's absolutely essential for all things in life, not only nature-related things. And of course, I have a curiosity for any humanity, from poetry to music. So all that stuff has been building my background, my not only photography, but those have been my influences.
And did you at that age, even when you were younger, or perhaps later when you were studying, did you think about what kind of career that you want? Did you think that you could make a living as a underwater wildlife photographer?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, studying marine biology was a complete disappointment, because I am the generation of, similar to you, that was highly influenced by the TV shows. It was the beginning of TV shows. In your country with David Attenborough, and my country with Rodrigo de la Fuente, but also Jacques Cousteau. I mean, I was really impacted by those. So I think most people in my generation, some of the greatest photographers alive right now, come from that generation. And I decided to study marine biology because I was expecting that I was going to be taught about natural history from a very naturalistic point of view. And the raw truth is that the science of biology, biological sciences, but a modern biologist is essentially someone who quantifies, who makes models about how the natural world works. So statistics and mathematics are essential for any biologist. And that's exactly what I didn't want to do. I just want to sit in front of a pool or dive into a small cove and to contemplate and to invest my life on contemplating the natural world happening before my eyes. So I was really disappointed with my university studies. And I decided that was not the path for me. And at some point, I discovered photography. That, okay, this could be the beginning. And I had, at that time, I was like, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago, something like that. I had a dream in my life that was going to travel to Lake Tanganyika. From many tropical fish come from. I had been maintained in aquariums, a lot of tropical fish from Lake Tanganyika.
Right.
Not from Lake Tanganyika, but captive bred, but originally from Lake Tanganyika for many, many years. So I started to study about Lake Tanganyika, getting into, and then I decided to, I was working at that time at a fish farm as a commercial diver. And then I decided to leave that work, which was really rubbish work. And I decided to invest my very, very little savings on story about La Tanganyika. And then I went to the Geo magazine in Spain, the Geo edition, the Spanish edition. And I offered the idea. Of course, I had no contract, no formal contract, but I had a promise. Okay, go there, and then we will buy. And they did. They bought the.
They kept their word.
Exactly, and that was fine. And it was like a kickstarting. It was like launching my professional career.
That's such a great story. I just wanted to ask quickly, going back, because I was curious about the sciences, because, we get asked it a lot on the podcast, should young photographers go in? And there does seem to be a correlation, lots of like really, really good. And of course, this is not a rule, but there are lots of really great wildlife photographers, conservation photographers, whatever you want to call them, who do have sciences backgrounds, whether that's zoology, biology. And, I guess, especially these days, if a young person is going to invest not just the time, but a huge amount of money, do you also, even though it was disappointing for you, do you still look back at that and think, actually, there are some things, or it was worth me doing that because of your approach, because of the way that you might look at a subject differently? Or is it just, because you had this more emotional, philosophical side?
Yeah.
Was that your driving force, or do you draw on some of the things that you learned from the sciences side of your education?
Yeah, it's any experience in life is never wasted. I mean, you always learn from every experience. I have no idea what kind of person, what kind of photographer I could be if I wouldn't have studied marine biology. But all I can say is that I strongly believe on self-teaching. Self-teaching for me has been essential. Curiosity in my life has been absolutely everything. And from an academic point of view, from a knowledge point of view, my stage at the university was a complete waste. But from an experience point of view, even to understand how society works, because at university is kind of small country, small city, and you understand how you learn to how relationships works, and how the social pyramid works, and how all the labyrinthine society we live works. So it wasn't a waste at all, but mostly I'm a self-taught person in every aspect of my life.
Yeah, that's great. And so you had this article published in Geo, and this is it. You've hit the jackpot with your very first story.
Wow, I thought I was the king of the world at that time, and
yes,
and I mean,
yeah.
and it was great, and it was really important because that motivated me to. I mean, motivation in photography is absolutely key. Absolutely key. I mean, that this is a roller coaster career, and the emotional ride is all the time up and down, and you need to get familiar with that as soon as possible, and not be scared about that, because this is natural. This is not a solid career. It's not a 9-to-5 job that you can go and then you have a salary at the end of the month. This is something completely unstable, but so much rewarding. So it's like addictive. Yeah,
it is
kind of self-punishing.
Yeah, there must be. We must all. Yeah, well, we all need therapy, don't we? But yeah, there must be some. Yeah, strange kind of self-loathing, self-harming. But yeah,
I think I think we are doing therapy right now, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this podcast is about. I love that. I think it was when I interviewed Charlie Hamilton James, he was talking about camera trap photography, and he said that, it's 99% failure, but you do it for the 1%.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with any style of natural history photography.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. It's so rewarding. That 1% is so bloody rewarding that it captures you in a way that you cannot leave it.
Yeah. And actually, I this is something I hadn't thought about asking until now, but, given your age and when you started, did you ever enter into the there was the stock photography heyday of the 90s. Photographers could make good money from that. I don't know. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. At that time was the natural outlet. I started with Oxford Scientific Films.
Okay.
Yeah, well, obviously with the slides. No,
Yep.
the digital revolution didn't
Yep.
came, and it was great. It was great because at that time photographers were very well paid, and it was great. I've never been too much of a stock photographer, and right now and for the last 20 years, I'm definitely not a stock photographer. Simply, for me, it doesn't worth the effort of labeling and preparing their submissions for the financial outcome that you have. Today, for me, particularly in my personal view, in my personal business, it's meaningless. But I have a lot of colleges that are still doing great in stock photography.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Just with the decline since the digital revolution, and and on one hand, we talked about this a lot. It did democratize photography. It became less of an elite sport, I would say, but also obviously what people were paying for those images and the libraries suddenly becoming flooded with so much work. It's natural that it goes down. But yeah, I think, again, we talked about this. It's just another way of earning money. I mean, I think I wouldn't really encourage a young photographer now to say, yeah, go for stock as your number one thing, but definitely try and get represented by a good agency because they're still out there. Of course, I'm with Nature Picture Library, and they're surviving and doing a really good job still. They hire great picture researchers who are all, educated very well in their field, zoologists, biologists. There is still a market out there for it, but my goodness, it's hard for us. It's hard for them too. It's hard for magazines. And actually that was one of my questions I was going to ask you. You very much were doing that, with this great start you had with Geo. Did you then go on to approach other magazines? Did you view this as your main outlet at that period when you were early in your career?
Not really. At that time, I was essentially a stock photographer, and I was combining my photography work with the diving. I'm commercial diver. I've been working for many years as a commercial diver, and also I worked for 12 years, no less than 12 years, many years ago, but 12 years as a corporate and advertising photographer with my tie, visiting executives at companies and producing portraits and product photography, a lot of things, and it was really rewarding because that was a school for me to understand photography. It expanded my views on photography in a way that I could have been imagining. I mean, having to confront that was taking me out of my comfort zone.
Yes,
is a very fashion statement. At that time, I had to go outside, completely outside, but it was really rewarding, and I learned a lot of photography by doing mistakes with the clients and so on. But it was great. It was great, and my whole understanding of photography is completely influenced by that stage of my life.
Yeah, and that's brilliant because I often, I not less so these days, but people often ask, what about underwater photography? And I just think, oh my goodness, not only do you need to be a competent diver, like so competent that you're not even thinking about diving because you have to focus on the photography. Then there's the housings, the strobes, the different settings. So you were doing that. Were you like really crash course learning that whilst you were doing this corporate work? Is that what you were talking about, the technical side of it as well?
Yeah, I think it's a chronic issue on the community of photographers that many of them, they don't have a solid basis education on academic or formal photography. So they simply start because they love the natural world and they love traveling and they love adventure and the feeling of staying underwater or the feeling of staying in the jungle or whatever. But they have they have bypassed that stage that you always need to understanding the principles of photography, how light works. Because at the end of the day, photography is about light. It's photography. I mean, it's the recording of light. This is the essence of photography. And I think we should think about on those terms.
I think this is good. This would be a good time to talk, because we were talking about, I think exactly that. I think with photography, with Photoshop, obviously now with AI, there are endless possibilities to avoid the hard work of learning the settings. And, like you were saying, when you were learning, doing this corporate work, it's about, you use the word mistakes. And it's so funny, like I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she gets so frustrated, when she makes the tiniest mistake. And I wish, I could just jump into her body and say, no, this is good. These are important life lessons. Of course, there's no telling her, because she's 8, but she thinks she's 12, 13.
It used to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It needs to happen. She needs to go through her own journey. And you also talked about young people traveling. This is a topic that we talked about a little bit last week. And I know you have strong feelings about it, especially in the current climate. But, both you and I spend a lot of time doing work locally. And that's 2 reasons. One, obviously, there is a climate crisis. We are all aware of this now. We should really be hammering home the message of doing projects close to home. But even better than that, and I liked what you said to me the other day, that actually there is great potential for doing really good, unique, and commercially successful work close to home. I mean, we're both living examples of that. I mean, how commercially successful, that is up for debate. We don't earn, we're not getting rich from what we do, but making a good living, doing stuff close to home is really important. And yeah, you have really strong feelings about this, and you live and lead by example doing this. And could you pinpoint a moment when you were younger, thinking about Lake Tanganyika or traveling to other locations, when you really started thinking, actually, I've got some beautiful places where I live and there are great stories to be told. I'm going to do stuff close to home. Do you remember?
I don't remember the precise moment, but my process, my evolution on that regard has been as follows. Obviously, I've been trying for all of my life, trying to be a National Geographic photographer. This is something that most of people, the immense majority of we have been so much influenced, so much impressed, emotionally impressed, that for many of us, the dream of National Geographic has been something that has, in a way, shaped our careers. So either if we manage to achieve National Geographic or not, I think in a way we should be grateful, because it has been like the engine of everything. Yeah. Probably it's not fair to say that about them right now, but it's true. It's true, and we have to admit. The thing, it's not about, well, obviously I'm not American, I'm Spanish, I'm not even European, I'm Spanish. So for me, the feeling, I completely lack that feeling of the national part of National Geographic. I completely lack. There is no greatness in my mind to become a National Geographic, but for many decades, they have been the only ones, or some of the few ones, that have supported photographers in a way that you can develop a career, a sustainable career in photography. That's the reason. It was the financial reason, not the, let's say, the self-trumpeting reason.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So, I mean, they had 16 million subscribers, I think, in their heyday. So, you imagine the money.
Yeah.
And also, guaranteed money that was coming in to be able to fund those great assignments. Yeah. So
at some point I discovered that, everyone have, we have our own styles of producing people. Some people in my field, some people get in the water and immediately they point and shoot, and they are very, very good at capturing action very quickly. I'm completely the opposite side. I'm a slow thinker, and I'm a slow producer. So time is the raw matter for my photography. I'm following I'm following the law of nature. I'm trying to adapt how nature works. Nature works in a millions of years scale, and human life works at a completely different. But you need to embrace the timing of nature if you want to be a nature photography. So time is absolutely essential to me. And the only way that I have to get that time was working locally. That was the reason that I decided that I was going to produce locally, because I discovered that it has much more sense from a personal point of view, but also from a business point of view, to produce in depth rather than in range. I have been migrating from the natural history approach to the artistic approach to the conservation approach. I've been migrating all the time from all those three families of photography. But lately, within the last 10 years, perhaps, I feel more closely to the artistic side of photography, obviously taking as a foundation my natural history knowledge. And time is absolutely essential. And who is going to support you working for months or years in the field right now? No one. So the only way you can do a path right now at the current stage of photography, I think for aspiring photographers, the only way is trying to produce locally. Learn to appreciate your local reality. Every little corner in this world has something to offer to a natural history photographer. So it's about learning to appreciate that thing. And as you said, it's not only a personal approach. It's not about climate change. It's not about your footprint. Of course it is, but it's not only about that. It has become a strategic decision within the context of the business point of view. I mean, working locally on your local subjects enables you to produce some kind of unseen material, absolutely new material, with a depth that very few people can achieve during a vacation or during a 2-week assignment in the field. And that's a strategic advantage that I'm taking advantage of, definitely.
That's great advice. And yeah, you become the expert in that area because nobody else is doing it. And also, to give some perspective to the listeners, you were telling me what this is, like 30-40 minute drive from your house, or currently where you're working anyway?
Normally I used to work on a radius about 100 kilometers from home. Normally, so that's for me. That's great. I sleep in my car when I have to sleep. When I have to, I mean, it's about make things easy. So you can concentrate on your subject, on photography. Forget about travel issues. Forget about money issues. Forget about the language. Forget about the politics, the visas, the permits. Forget about everything and focus completely your mind into photography and into your subject. For me, that's working perfectly, and it's absolutely fulfilling.
Yeah, that's so good. And on that, you're talking about unique subjects, because you're keeping some images close to your chest, or your cards close to your chest. I can't remember the phrase, but anyway, you were so excited the other day about telling me about some of this new work. You've been photographing some octopus. Honestly, Angel's eyes lit up, and so that's I think that's always a good sign for a photographer, because most of the time we're disappointed. So when we're happy, I think when you've taken some good images.
Yeah, I'm taking some good. It's just out of thousands, but which is great rendering. It's absolutely fantastic rendering. Yes, I'm working right now on a project about octopuses. Well, not only octopuses, but also cuttlefish, cephalopods in general. And I think it's the first time in my life that I'm working on iconic animal, because in my hometown, in my local waters, we have no sharks, no whales. Well, we do have, but they are so so rare that it's almost impossible to try to. But we do have a few octopuses, because they are highly pursued by fishermen.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with octopuses is so much special, because it's a creature like no one else probably in the world. I mean, it's not even close to some mammals. The way that the behavior of the octopus, the way, I mean, when you're working in front of an octopus and they start to get familiar with you, they start doing things that are hardly explainable for any biologist, for any scientist. You find no answers. There is no, and this is so much stimulated, because you feel, I personally feel, that I'm working with an entity. I'm not working with an animal. I'm working with a sentient entity. And this generates a kind of connection, a kind of communion, a kind of elevation that is hardly describable in words. And some of those pictures that I'm getting reflect my personal feelings. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if those pictures are going to be published, are going to win any competition, or are going to be paid at some point. What I will take to my thumb will be those moments that are in my mind. Those moments are forever. And at the end of the day, for many of us committed nature photographers, I think that's the ultimate salary of our work. Of course, we need money to make a living, but the true salary, the true reward of our work are those moments that will get lost in time, like tears in the rain. You know. Too much movies.
Oh my God, this is amazing, Angel. I have to say, when we spoke the other day, Angel was talking about his frustrated about not being able to communicate his from the heart speaking English, but oh my goodness,
I'm still are.
What's your Spanish like? People must be in tears when they speak to you. If that's truly from the heart. No, it's wonderful, and I think it really speaks to this approach you have of just being sort of slow thinker, a slow photographer, being philosophical. It sounds like all of this is playing out underwater, and there must be some times where you do have to react quite quickly, but all of that must come with this almost I don't know, like meditative. It must feel like that underwater, this meditative approach and revisiting locations. So in this, for example, are you getting close to one or two animals, or 5 or 6, or just one? I mean, obviously people will be thinking about My Octopus Teacher. It might be worth asking what your thoughts were about that film.
Yeah. Well, it was a great film, and it reflects pretty accurately what an octopus means. You need to think that octopuses have been in the mythological. Every culture in this world has a myth about the octopus. Even lowland places some of them have some myth about the octopus. I mean, the octopus is an animal like no one else, and it's a blend of something mystical, with something real, with something otherworldly. It's so much a special animal. My Octopus Teacher was a really good film, and I had the immense luck to work a few years ago with Roger Horrocks in Lake Tanganyika for a different filming, a different series, and I spent with him 3 weeks so we could speak a lot about his experience with.
Oh, that's amazing!
Yeah, and he's actually a very good friend of mine, and it's a special friend with me, and we definitely we agree that when you have the opportunity to work with octopus, something in your mind changes forever. It's really a special animal.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I love those. I love that those stories, of oral culture passed down through so many generations that, like you say, landlocked countries, are even talking about them. And so going back to your personal experience, like currently, when you go and visit these sites, are you guaranteed to see them? Like, tell us a little bit about the process and what you are also trying to capture when you're with them.
Well, I have to say that the process is, in my local waters, the process is bittersweet because, for example, last week I have been working on a cove in the north of Alicante. I've been working there for a month, something like that, every day. Last week I went to the place. Normally octopuses are very territorial, so they stay, especially when they are breeding. Right now is the breeding season, so they stay on the same small crevices or whatever. So one of the good things about the octopuses is that they learn very quickly, and they learn to they get familiar with you. Your very first attempt with an individual probably is they get scared and keep the distance, but after a few hours, they start to understand that you are just one more element of the landscape, and to the next day, they remember you, and to the next day they remember you, and then they start to interact with you. They learn very quickly. So basically, I've been working with different lightnings, different lenses, different approaches, sometimes just waiting for some kind of behavior, sometimes completely wasting my time for 4 or 5 hours underwater, just waiting for something to happen. But you establish kind of relationship with that. Well, last week when I went to the place I've been working, I was parking my car. I was dressing myself up in diving suit. And then a spare fisherman came. He parked in front of me and went into the water. And after, I think it was like 5 hours, something like that, we both came out. I couldn't find my octopus. And my octopus, which was really recognizable because some of anatomical features, was hanging on its capture. It was dead. This is something that happens every single day. Unfortunately, there is a culture of fishing in my area, really rooted on the society, and it is something that is not going to change, and it's something that you have to live with. It's not that I'm blaming spear fishing. Spear fishing probably is one of the most sustainable ways of fishing that there are in the world. The problem is not the fishing itself. The problem is that at the current state of the Mediterranean, can we afford any form of fishing? The Mediterranean is completely decimated, except for marine reserves and some pristine areas in very remote areas. But essentially, the Spanish coast is completely decimated. So every single octopus, every single fish counts. And at the current state of our Mediterranean, should we allow that kind of merciless fishing? Well, it's a spiky, it's a thorny question, but I have to live with it every day. I go out to take pictures. Yeah.
And how do you personally reconcile that loss or that grief, or what do you do? Because obviously you're philosophical, you're not blaming the individual, it's the system. It's a little bit like when we talked about travel the other day. You don't blame the individual traveling. It's just the system of everybody traveling all the time, everywhere. So though in that moment of you'd built this relationship with this octopus, and then suddenly it's hanging from the end of a spear. What's that experience like for you?
Well, it's a shocking experience, but I try to not punish myself too much about that, because it's something I can't do absolutely nothing. And I completely know I'm probably too much of an emotional person. And if I allow that to affect me too much, I know very well that I could become blocked. And I don't want that to happen. So I try to forget about that, try to live my life, coming back home with my wife, watching at my pictures of that memory, of that particular specimen. And it's about that. I mean, there is absolutely nothing I can do. Everything I'm going to get if I try to do something is violence. is violence.
Mhm.
And I know exactly what kind of violence are that one that are performed by fishermen. Normally, at least in my area, fishermen, especially spare fishermen, are people of that society sectors that are not really educated. It's like it's not people that have had access or will to for education, and they only have violence as an answer. So it's really hard to deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, we can't wait and look forward to seeing some of the work when you're ready. But, you're a slow
Yeah, I'm going
photographer.
to try.
Maybe this will be
Yeah, when
10, 15 years.
yeah, you never know. I mean, it's something that I'm doing with all of my heart and with all of the love I can deliver.
Yeah.
But now I need to make some profit of that. And
Yeah.
once it's over, probably it's never going to be over, because I'm one of those that never finish any project, because there is always something new to add to the project. But the must come a stage in, okay, I have enough, but I think this is worthy enough, not a shaming enough. I mean, it's not a shaming enough to offer that project to magazines. So hopefully I will. But at this stage, of course, I have made any contact about my project, but I will, of course, and hopefully
Yeah.
I will do that after the breeding season. That is in October, November. I will start the endeavor of trying to sell the project.
So what I'm getting from you in this therapy session, Angel, is, there's lots of love, there's lots of emotion, there's lots of taking time, but maybe there's some fear as well, that, this perfectionist side of you, waiting till the end before you publish the book, because I'm a book publisher, and I know I don't knock them out every year. They're usually once every 5 or 6 years. That at some point you have to stop. At some point you have to say, oh yeah, there could be one more image. There could be one more image. But yeah, I did a book on Hampstead Heath 10 years ago now, and I feel like I just scratched the surface of this place, but I photographed it for 5 years. Like, would it be a better book if I photographed it for 10 years? Sometimes you just got to put these things out there, and you, like I said earlier, you learn from it. And also we want to see it. We want to see the work. People want to buy your book.
That's something that we will see. I mean, it's too long in the timeline, but yes, maybe someday.
And how's it going, wanting to be a National Geographic photographer? Because obviously I've seen you, you're with the Photo Society. I actually don't know if you've had any features published with them.
Well, I've been working for several editions of National Geographic since 20 years ago. The Spanish, the Israeli, and the Italian, the French, and finally the main edition. But I'm not at all a National Geographic photographer, because that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, you are not an in residence. You are not. I mean, it's the concept of National Geographic photography has become part of the popular legends. But today, from a practical point of view, it makes no sense to call yourself, and it's so pretentious. It's so it's something that many people use to try to sell themselves, even when they have published just a small picture on a local. But it's something. Okay, I'm a National Geographer. Well, if you're happy to by saying so, then I'm happy too. But it's not real. Yes, but I've been lucky enough to publish. I think I'm not sure. It's a couple of stories. I published my Tanganyika story, and I published my plankton story as well, which is one of my best-selling projects in my life, the plankton story, which is made exactly on the desk I'm talking to you right now, in half a square meter, with absolutely. Someday, I think it will be worth to write a book about that specific project, because people's not going to believe how the hell I did those images. Many people believe that I have a super expensive microscope and something like I'm working on a laboratory, and it's made right here, and with a piece of white paper, and I mean, It's
Brilliant.
about imagination. When you
Yes.
don't have the resources, you need to have imagination, because otherwise
Yes.
you have nothing.
And that goes back, to the childhood. The child in you. You need the imagination to spark the curiosity to make the beautiful work. And there's no doubt. But look, we'll put links. Hopefully, we can get some links from you. We'll put them up in your page on the podcast section of my website. It would be lovely to see some of this work. I know you're working on your website. Also, we know you're not going to rush that, but it'd be great to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, I will, sure.
Yeah. In the future. I was wondering, like, with your philosophical approach, and just even hearing you briefly talk about the issues in the Mediterranean, and then your firsthand experiences of overfishing, like, what do you also do with regards to, hopeful messaging? And, often people get criticized for using the word hope. I can't think of a better one right now, but, what even in our lifetime, and with all of these crazy people in charge at the moment, what keeps you motivated to get up and go out every day? Because it's like you said, motivation is key to getting good images. But how do you deal with the kind of mental health side of it when everything else, all the noise from outside, is so negative?
Yeah, I think the word hope, it's been merchandised in our days. It's been merchandised by the labyrinthine world of non-governmental agencies. It's been merchandised by the influencers. It's been merchandised by some photographers as well. When you have the chance to access the reality of science, of what's going on in the world, it's completely impossible to have hope. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It's not at all. What means hope? Are we talking about at a human scale? Are we talking about hope on a planetary scale? Obviously, we are talking about at a human scale. We have to be concerned about the next summer. How much warm will be the next summer? We need to be aware that climate change, because of fossil fuel, is a planetary machine. Is the biggest of all of our problems. I'm not saying that we don't have to care about saving the rhino, the elephant, the orcas, and the whale sharks. I'm not saying that. We need to give more time. Actually, I think that we are just gaining time by protecting species and ecosystem. We are gaining time. But the framing, if you take some height and look at the situation from above, the threat of climate change is at a completely different dimension. We are dealing with a planetary system, a planetary machine that is affected by our activity. And this is not changing. It's increasing. It's not only not decreasing, it's increasing every single year. And every single year we know of a new war on a corner of the world, which is happening because of the natural resources, especially the gas. So from that point of view, there is absolutely no hope. But I have no anxiety at all. I have no environmental anxiety at all, because I try to look at the situation from an evolutionary point of view, from a global point of view, from a life history of 3.5 million years. So life will go on. So you don't have to care. Forget about getting anxiety because there will be no life in 50 years. Life will go on. So worry about your children. Worry about your children and worry about yourself, because this is going too fast. It's going too fast. And unfortunately, there is no particular reason to tackle about climate change. Climate change is about human activity, but it's also about the development model that we have chosen to thrive, and that is not going to stop. That is not going to stop. We have the notion that we have that notion of growth. Growth is the most single word that you hear most on the newspaper, financial newspapers, and on the news, general news. Growth. There is no single system in the whole universe, from atoms to planets, that can expand to the infinite. Every single system in the universe expands and contracts, expands and contracts. So our notion that the economy has to grow all the time, and we have to get benefit, that's completely unsustainable. And it's the whole of our lives that is conditioned in that situation. The fact that you and me are right now talking by Zoom, we are using technology. We are pouring into the atmosphere right now gases of greenhouse effect. So there is nothing we can do about climate change unless we understand that we need to go back to the Stone Age at some point, at some degree. And this is something that is not going to happen, definitely. So from that point of view, there is absolutely no hope. Now, it is hope for the rhino. Yeah, it's hope to preserve the species for the next 50 years. Yes, that's true. Because there's a lot of people with a lot of commitment, a lot of efforts trying to save the rhino. But in the long term, climate change will engulf everything, will swallow everything, because it's a planetary machine.
Mm.
In the meantime, there is an industry of hope. There is an industry of greenwashing. There is an industry of all sorts of individuals and agencies trying to sell the idea that there is hope. From a scientific point of view, I have to say that there is no hope for us, but of course there is hope for life on Earth for several thousands of millions of years ahead. So no anxiety.
Well, look, you put that, so succinctly and beautifully, and we need to slowly come to an end here. And I think you put forward such a great case, which my next question is kind of jarring against that. But what are your personal, hopes, wishes, and dreams for the future, and not necessarily climate related, but also for you as a photographer who, again, always from the outside, it looks like, you go on an Instagram and, you have these beautiful images and winner of GDT and Photo Society and all of this stuff. But what's going to give you personal satisfaction and, a fabulous outcome in your career looking at the next 5, 10, 15 years?
No, I have none of that. My only hope, my only personal wish is being able to spend time in nature as much as I possible. I'm dedicating my life to get that outcome. Spending time is a completely selfish approach, but it's a proudly selfish approach. I don't care about, of course I care, but my wish is to being able that I have health enough to continue, because diving is a really demanding activity, and I'm not really old, but I'm not in my 20s or my 30s, and I'm just have started to feel the difference between being on my 20s that have been on my 50s. I just wish to have the opportunity, as many encounters, as many conversations, private conversation with octopuses and blennies and fish, and as much as I can. That's and I strongly believe that even though I'm not intentionally working for others, I have the inner hope that my hope can inspire others, or can inspire. I mean, it's something that it's really humane. I just want to enjoy the natural world with my ethical coordinates, and that's it. I mean, yes, of course, there's a lot of things. Of course, I would like to publish and on magazines, and of course, I would like to be rewarded at photo competitions. And I think those things are motivational, but they are only motivational in the short term. In the long run, I just want time to enjoy nature, and please don't stop producing, and please don't. I mean, that's it. It's all about that. It's one of the problems of globalization, one of the problems of the digital revolution, is that a lot of people have the feeling that they have a sense of that they can control the world. A lot of people takes in terms of saving the planet, saving the world. Think carefully. You are just an individual. How can you be talking about your planet? I mean, it's nearly insulting that you are talking in those terms.
Nearly
so
insulting.
Lower down your expectations, calm down, breathe, and start thinking from what you can do for your life, because we would have a much better society if we were composed by happy individuals, which is, I think, the background problem of our society. So cultivate your own, and by cultivating your own spirit, your own culture, your own brain, your own heart, I think you are contributing to the society in a way that has a much more impact than anyone can suspect.
Angel, that's such a beautiful way to end. I can't believe we've been talking for over an hour, and it's just gone so quick.
I told you it was going to be very melodramatic.
I wouldn't expect anything less. I haven't known you for that long, but that's what I do know about you. And thank you. I feel so privileged doing this job, and having people like you on is you talked earlier about the different salary. Obviously, there's no money involved in this apart from my lovely Patreon supporters, so thanks to them. But this is when I get to feel rich, is talking to people like you. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to share of that passion.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's been my honor, absolute honor. It's been. I told you it's relevant. I have no personal social life. I mean, I'm not really a social individual, but I have a handful of people nearby that I really appreciate. And you never know when you belong to a community of people. You never know what's behind the mind or behind the eyes of someone else that is talking in front of you. But this experience with you, the podcast, and the previous experience on our group, it's really tightened our minds, our hearts, and I'm really, really happy because of that. Thank you very much.
That's such a pleasure. Hey, who needs human friends when you have octopus friends, right?
Yeah,
they don't let you down, do they?
Maybe. I will think about that when I publish my book. That I'm going to need some human friends.
We will be there. There will be a queue. You won't believe it. We'll all be wanting the book signed and numbered, and yeah, we can't wait. So don't. I appreciate your approach, but let's not take a little bit of pressure. Let's not take too long.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Matt.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, Angel. It was such a treat to have you on. So warm, so kind, generous of spirit. I know I say that a lot, but all of these people really are, and they give up so much of their time. Thank you so much. And I just love Angel's philosophical approach. And I'm sure, like me, everyone can't wait to see these new octopus images. Like I said, if a photographer is excited about their work, it's good. We're usually pretty hard on ourselves. So to keep up to date with that and Angel, you can follow his work on Instagram, which is at Angel Fitor. That's ANGELFITOR. He's currently rebuilding his website, so you'll have to wait for that because, like his images, it takes time to produce such high quality work. Oh, and don't forget to take a look at his page on my site, on the podcast section. There's a bunch of links in there to find out more information about him. And again, if you'd like to come on a photo bookmaking workshop with Eddie Ephraim's and I at Highgate Cemetery, we have some spaces left in October. Visit the workshops page on my website, matthewmoran.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so. Visit Patreon, Matthew Moran Podcast. Thanks to everyone who's already there and been supporting this podcast for the last couple of years since I set that up. It's been a big help, and I'm going to bring you more. Thanks again for listening. See you soon.